Hey everyone, Scott Cunningham, aka Scotsy Business. Today we're going to be talking about blogging on Minds. I've gotten a lot of questions about, just the various aspects of blogging, how to add media to your blogs, how to edit blogs you've already posted, how to draft a blog, and how you should use hashtags and metadata for your blogs. So I'm going to go through this all really quickly because there's not a ton to cover, but I just want to make sure that you've got the basics down for how blogging works. So we're going to do this on a computer. First, you'll go to Minds, obviously, then Blogs, and then we'll hit Write a New Blog. So assuming you're going through the entire process, you want to make a banner. It gives you the recommended size. So you can go ahead and create a banner, post that just by clicking on this, and you'll add your banner. Then you want, obviously a insightful title that is informative and or, eye-catching and grabby and kind of, interesting, kind of get people's attention and get them interested in what you might have to say, as well as you want a nice little insert to include in your metadata as well, because if the preview for this link is pulled, it will show the metadata in that preview, and you want to make sure that it gives a good insight to what you're talking about so that people will know when they read it and they won't be misled or misinformed. So you'll want to make sure you fill out your metadata as well, and whether you do this at the beginning or at the end doesn't really matter. Just obviously before you publish it, you want to have this set up. So then you would just add, you could have your title a little bit more summarized in your meta title, but typically I just use the exact same title, and then I just include my meta author name as well. The only thing that you might not be aware of is what a URL slug is, in case you're not super used to this. A URL slug is just the way that the URL is written. So as an example of this, why don't I actually show you? A URL slug just makes it easier for people to remember the name and how to get back to it, because if you have a random URL, that won't be very indicative of what people need to go and click on or how to get back to it, and they might not remember. But for example, this guide that I have for learning to use Minds, the URL slug is the Epic Minds Guide. So it also looks nicer when they look at the URL, and it's just more aesthetically pleasing to actually see something that has to do with the content you're talking about rather than just, random numbers and letters. They add these at the end just to make it unique. So there still is going to be that, and it won't be possible to memorize this, but it'll be much more indicative of what content will actually exist on the blog. So one of the biggest questions I get is, how do I add media to my blogs? And though I've gone over this before, I'm going to go over this again because this is going to cover everything. When you're going through your blog, you're writing. When you press enter and you make a new line, you'll see this little plus symbol. And this plus symbol is how you're going to add media. So whether or not you're adding something from another website or you're adding it directly from your computer yourself, you would click on, for example, I clicked on the picture icon, the camera icon. So this is related to images. So here I can then click on the upload icon and upload something directly from my computer, or I can paste a link and then hit enter and it will pull that image from wherever it exists. What you typically see on my posts is I share my YouTube videos. So I go and I hit this little play button, and here you're not able to directly upload video because they just don't have the capacity to support that. But you can put a link like YouTube or some other major video hosting application and then hit enter, and it will show your YouTube video and it will embed it into your blog. I think that's one of the biggest questions I've got from people. But something else we'll also just briefly bring up is, if you want to be able to edit various things on your blog, to bring up the toolbar to do so, you would just highlight the text. So say you were trying to make a header for, your next body of text, you would write this and then you could just hit enter and then you could start typing again. And if you wanted to break it down even more, you could have smaller headers that exist below that, and everything that you would normally have with a blog. So your alignment, you want a hyperlink, if you want full justification, if you want to add italics, bold, if you want to quote something in a block quote, you have access to all those features. And that basically covers the majority of what we're going to talk about here. The last little bit is going to be just looking at the other features aside from the metadata. So say you were going to be making a draft, like you weren't going to post this when you were done, you wanted to save this for later. And I had a lot of people, ask, how to edit something that you've already, you've already saved it, or say you've already published it and you want to come back and edit it. Well, what you would do is you would go to My Blogs, and you'd go to whichever blog you wanted to edit. And in this case, we're doing the test. And you would click this little arrow here. And this will give you all the information you really need. You would hit edit. And then now you go back into that mode where you're able to edit your post and do everything that you would be doing. Before you actually go and post this, though, there's a few things that you need to fill out. Your license. So, are you going to let people take pieces of this? Is this public domain? Is no one allowed to, reuse this in any way? Whichever one you're comfortable with, go with it. I'll put a link in here so that you can research what all of them mean, because I couldn't even tell you, because I'm not super versed in copyright law, but you can look into that yourself. I'll at least get a link to give you some more information. And then public this is when we're talking about whether or not your post is actually being made public. So if you're saving your draft, it might not be listed as public, or if you've already posted it as unlisted, it will exist and you could link to it, but it will not show up otherwise. Like, it won't be on your feed. People won't really be able to find it very easily. But you can also just go back and edit that. But if you have it set as unlisted and you switch it to public and then you post, I don't know if it's a glitch, but when I did this, it didn't post a linked newsfeed post on my newsfeed. And what I mean by that is, when you post a new post, as you can see there, that was the guide that I was just on. And when I posted it, it shows up like this. And if someone likes this guide on the newsfeed, it will show up as well on the blog. It has the same likes. And that's important, because that's how your blog is going to trend and depend whether or not it will make it to the trending blog section. However, if you've got your blog set on unlisted and you make it public, it won't post a newsfeed post like we saw on my profile right here. You won't have a linked post, but you could still go and you could take the URL and you could put it in here and you could post it, but it won't be linked. Meaning, if someone likes it on the newsfeed, you won't gain a like on the actual blog, and that'll make it really hard for you for your blog to make it up on the trending blogs list. So you want to keep that in mind. That may just be a glitch, but it's just something to keep, just to be aware of. If you can, avoid using drafts and just publish. Just write everything out when you do. But yeah, it's just something to keep in mind. But I wouldn't worry too much about it. If it is a glitch, they'll fix it. And then you get to set 5 hashtags. So just obviously whichever is the most relevant to what you're talking about, you can set. These aren't the only ones available. These are just ones that are popular or ones that I've recently used. You can type in pretty much anything, but obviously you want to stick to ones that are, you want to have mainly broad ones and then some very specific ones for the people who are looking for that exact type of content will find yours. But then you want to have more overarching categories that can help you gain a little bit more popularity from being seen in those. And the specific ones will help you trend more, and then you'll get more notice in the in the tags that have more people following them. You'll be seen because the people from your specific niche tags will have gained you the trending and the popularity to then be seen on the larger, more followed tags, and then it will kind of create a snowball effect for you. The explicit feature is whether or not you have some sort of content that is considered explicit. You want to make sure you set this, because otherwise people will complain and report, and then they'll just automatically set it for you. So I mean, you might as well just do it, also not so that you're not making people upset that they're seeing something that is explicit when they shouldn't. I mean you can say censorship or not censorship or whatever you want, but it makes it easier for everyone. People are using this at work. They definitely don't want to see not safe for work content. And if you have it and you're not marking it explicit, they're probably just going to block you, or, they're not going to worry about seeing your content. They'll just get you out of their way because they don't want to get in trouble. So you should definitely keep that in mind. If you've got something that you think is not safe for work, you should definitely mark it as such, because you're only hurting yourself if you don't. I think that pretty much covers everything. If there's anything that I missed, let me know in the comments, and I will make sure it is reflected in the blog version of this. I will cover all of this again in the blog version, and then I will link it in the guide that has everything. And that should cover everything that you guys need to know about blogging on Minds. So let me know if this was helpful, and as always, keep keeping on. Keep getting that crypto. I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, signing off. Cheers.